And welcome back, folks. This is the Morning Docket with Jesse Weber. He's down with Weinstein. I'm in his place. Michael Bryant here. Don't forget, we're live in the Michigan case against Devon Robinson. They're on a break. Right now, though, we have an update on the Harvey Weinstein matter, again, at the courthouse in downtown Manhattan. And with us is Angelica Spanos. She has been down there monitoring the scene. We understand that a number of the victim impact statements have taken place. Angelica, give me the lay of the land. What's going on?
Hey there, Michael. Good morning to you. Well, right now behind me inside this courthouse, Harvey Weinstein sentencing is happening right now. He arrived this morning in a wheelchair and in handcuffs, and his victims, the accusers here, will have a chance to confront him in that courthouse yet again. Weinstein is facing a minimum of 5 years in prison and a maximum of 29 years. The Supreme Court judge here, James Burke, he will be the one to make the decision here on how many years Weinstein will be in a New York State prison. The fallen movie mogul was convicted back in February on the 24th. A jury of 7 men and 5 women convicted Weinstein on 2 of 5 potential counts: a first-degree criminal sexual assault act charge and a third-degree rape charge. So the big question here is, what was asked of Judge Burke for today? This coming from both sides. First off, let's talk about the prosecution. The prosecution asked for a lengthy sentence for Weinstein. The prosecution listed numerous accounts of sexual assault and abusive behavior in the workplace that dated back decades. In a letter to the judge, it said that with the evidence at trial regarding the sexual assault of Mimi Halle and Jessica Mann, his sexual assault of the Molyneux witnesses, and his additional acts set forth in this letter, he's shown a lifetime of abuse toward others and sexual and otherwise. The state also asked the court to impose a sentence that reflects the seriousness of the defendant's offenses, his lack of remorse, and the harm that he's caused, and the need to deter him and others from engaging in further criminal conduct. Now, on the other side, for the defense, Weinstein's team pushed for a 5-year prison sentence, or the minimum. The defense said that the trial did not fairly portray who Harvey is as a person. They mentioned that his life story, his accomplishments and struggles are simply remarkable and should not be disregarded in total because of the jury's verdict. Mr. Weinstein has tried in his life's work through charitable endeavors to even the odds for people who were not always afforded equal opportunity. That was in the defense's note and memo there. Also on our network, Weinstein's publicist said to us yesterday here at Law&Crime that Weinstein wants to speak today inside this hearing, but knows that his words will be used against him. So as of yesterday, there was no word yet on if he will speak inside today or not today. We will have to figure that out, and we will wait and see. Judge Burke will decide if the sentences for each charge can run consecutive today or concurrently. That will be something that he decides. And of course, the big question here is how many years Harvey Weinstein will get. That is what we will be waiting here to find out. There is a large media presence outside the courthouse, as always has been through this trial, and we will be bringing you the latest with
Angela,
that. Our own Jesse Weber is also inside
let me
the
interrupt
courthouse.
you, because we've just heard from inside the courthouse. I'm trying to read the notes here that Harvey Weinstein has been sentenced to 20 years for the top charge and 3 years for the third-degree rape. It looks like 20 years of 5 years of post-release supervision, and they will be consecutive, not concurrent. That's my reading of the notes I'm getting now from the courthouse. That's basically a life sentence. So, Angelica, let me ask you this question in light of this information. I know you're just getting it as well, but what's going on outside the courthouse? There was such a huge contingent of silence breakers and others when this thing began. Looks kind of quiet comparatively today.
It is a little bit quiet compared to how we saw the trial in the beginning, especially the scene outside here. We have a large media present, but that's really about it. We don't see any of those protesters or the silence breakers here this morning. I'm assuming, though, now that we do have this sentence, that we will see a large number of people come up to the microphones you see behind me here and give us some information. We're expecting to hear from many of the counselors in this, as well as Gloria Allred, I'm sure, giving press conferences throughout the morning here. So that is surely going to happen and come a little later on.
Okay, I'm going to let you go in just a minute to go wrap up that information. But let me ask you this, as you've talked to others, as I have, that's a lot higher, 23 years for the two different counts, than most people thought it might be. What's your take?
Yeah, that is a lot higher. I agree with you there. You know, I was looking at all the sort of information surrounding this, and even listening to our guests on the network, and many of them not ballparking it up at 23 years there. So that is a bit higher. Another thing that'll be interesting is to hear exactly how Weinstein was today inside. I know we've been sort of curious to see what he looks like. We know that he had a fall in Rikers. We also know that he had that heart procedure last week where they placed a stent in him. So it'll be interesting to see his behavior today, what he looks like, and of course, how he will react to this going forward now.
Okay, Angelica, thank you so much for that reporting from the courthouse. The Weinstein sentencing just completed. Thanks again, Angelica. Go find out some details on what's happening there. It's got to be a buzz in that courthouse. Okay,
Thanks, Michael.
so we'll take an opportunity here to chat with my guest, not only Dave Ehrenberg, who is back. I knew he'd be back when I said, hey, I'll see you later. I didn't think it'd be this soon. Dave Ehrenberg is back with us from Palm Beach County. And also on set with me is Taylor Koss, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor from Brooklyn.
How are you?
So, give me your thoughts. That sounds like a steep whack.
Yeah, I mean, quite frankly, I'm not surprised. I know Judge James Burke very well. You know, if you're a defendant and you pull the card that your case is in front of Judge Burke, you are not excited about that. He's strict, he's by the book, and I thought everything was in play here today. I think from a defense perspective, it seems excessive. It seems like a life sentence, considering both Weinstein's age and his physical conditioning right now. I think that throughout the trial, there were a lot of openings for appellate issues, and I think this is just another one, an excessive sentence. And I think it helps the defense narrative here that Burke was unfair throughout the trial in his rulings, and now here in the final
So he's being consistently unfair, if you believe the defense. Okay, I get that. So Dave, again, still with me, I appreciate it, from Florida. The number sounds to me quite large, but if attacked just because it seems excessive, I think that's a loser, because he could have gone up to 29 years, so it's not like he broke that cap. But is there something to be said for over-sentencing based on the atmosphere, based on the larger picture in this case?
Yeah, it does give impetus for his appellate lawyers to say, hey, this is just about pressure from the Me Too movement that got to a judge who is biased towards the prosecution, as evidenced by his excessive sentence. I don't think it will work, but it will give them extra grist in their appellate motions. Plus, he's also facing an additional 27 possible years in the Los Angeles case. So, yeah, you're talking about 2 potential life sentences. And one more thing to add, you got to love it when I make a prediction on live TV, and then 5 minutes later, I'm proven wrong. So
yeah, you and many others, believe me, that's true. But at least you hung it out there. I appreciate that. So let me ask a follow-up to you, Dave. You know, 27 years in California, 23 in New York. Hey, it's a nice round number, 50 years in prison. We know this guy's got troubles, health problems. How important is it in the appellate context that he does have health issues? Does that carry much weight, really?
It'll carry some weight, but it's not going to overturn a sentence. They're not going to overturn it because it is within the guidelines. If he went over 29 years, then yeah, that would be overturned. But I don't think just because of health reasons that it will be overturned. I think that you could say health plus all these other factors that Taylor mentioned could come into play. But ultimately, I think it's rare for the appellate court to start overturning these sentences when the judge is entirely within the guidelines.
Yeah, that's what I assumed. Okay, here's a little tidbit of breaking news, and Jesse will be joining us very soon, coming down from the courthouse. Jesse Weber is there. Would you be surprised, Taylor Koss, to learn that Mr. Weinstein spoke before the sentencing?
Yeah, quite frankly, I would be.
Well, be surprised then, because apparently he did.
Wow. You know, I would have thought, particularly viewing the exchanges between the judge and Mr. Weinstein throughout the trial, you know, the being yelled at for the cell phone use and all sorts of things, I think that anything he would say in this circumstance, unless it was a full-out apology, acceptance of guilt, which I'm sure, right,
I'm not sure that's what we heard.
Right, which I'm sure it was not. So unless it was that, I don't think it could be helpful, and conversely could have hurt him if the judge thought he wasn't being upfront, truthful, and accepting of his responsibility. So I am a little surprised that his attorneys allowed him to do that, but ultimately the decision is his.
Exactly. And Dave, you know, if I can get inside Harvey Weinstein's head for a moment, and it's an ugly place to be, but I'm thinking he figures, what do I got to lose? You know, even if I get a minimum sentence here in New York, you know, I'm an older guy. I got problems. It's not exactly an environment I'm used to. How bad could it hurt me? Do you think he regrets having said something now, since the sentence seems to be a little severe?
It didn't seem to have worked, did it? I think the only thing he could say is expressing tremendous remorse, but he's limited because he can't say too much because he's got the Los Angeles hearing out there. So when you go up there and you don't express the kind of remorse that the judge expects, you're going to get the book thrown at you, and that may have happened here.
Yeah, and I can't wait to hear what he had to say. I have to believe there was not much contrition there. Remember, as soon as he was convicted, he was quoted as saying, you know, how does this happen in America? The denial that caused him so many problems for decades was consistently there when he was convicted, because if he did nothing wrong for those 30 years, how could the jury saying he did something wrong change that mindset? Taylor, what do you expect now? Okay, now we've got the sentence. We've got the California thing hanging out there. Practically speaking, what's going to happen?
Yeah, so I think before the sentence, his attorneys and appellate attorneys were wondering if they should make some sort of bail application to allow him out pending appeal. Now that there's this tremendous sentence in place, I think that's off the table. That's no longer going to happen. But I do think,
and that's as a result of the length of the sentence.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think once now a 20+ year sentence is in place, I think any appellate court would be loath to interfere and try to release him pending that, especially with all his resources and the like. I think that the appellate team, whoever that's going to be, if it's going to be the New York crew or not, is going to start working immediately. I think there are viable issues here. And then at the same time, concurrently, you're going to have the LA crew getting ready because he could be extradited at a moment's notice. Literally, it could happen at any time.
Yeah, you know, Dave, let me ask you about the cooperation element here. Would you anticipate that New York and LA will cooperate to toss the football? You know, is he going to go out to LA and hang out there, make his first appearance, and then just wait for trial? Or is he going to ping pong back and forth?
You know, it depends. The LA case is still so new that I don't believe that Jackie Lacey, the district attorney there, has had extensive discussions with Cy Vance, the DA of Manhattan. And by the way, I serve with both of them on the board of the National District Attorneys Association. So I know they know each other, but they've been caught up in their own cases, and Jackie Lacey has been involved with her own reelection. So I'd be surprised if they've already worked something out. I think they're going to wait till after this verdict, after the sentencing, and now they'll figure out what to do next. The next step would be arraignment in Los Angeles. So I predict that he will be flown over to face the music and then flown back, probably to make hand sanitizer in a New York State prison, because, you know, under Governor Cuomo's directive, prisoners are now going to be making New York's version of hand sanitizer. So that could be Harvey Weinstein's next career.
Yeah, I'm not sure I want to use hand sanitizer put together by Harvey Weinstein, just personally. Okay, guys, I want you to stay put. We have Jesse Weber's queuing up outside the courthouse. We do have the Weinstein sentencing. It is in 20 years for the first conviction, 3 for the second conviction. Consecutive 23 years in prison for Harvey Weinstein. That is the sentence just coming down from Judge Burke. We'll come right back. This is the Law and Crime Network.